Hello, the name is Osvaldo Antonio Nhaca, and welcome to another enlightenment video where we explore human behavior, principles that govern human behavior, as well as tips on how we could use these principles to not only better ourselves but also grow ourselves consciously as well. If this is the first time you are hearing me speak, just a way of introduction is I love studying human behavior, I love speaking on this subject, and I love integrating it with different fields such as philosophy, finance, as well as psychology. And these principles are mainly driven to help you as well as help me as well. A great teacher of mine and mentor of mine once told me that if you want to master something, teach it to somebody else because this helps you to retain the information and it also helps others grow as well. Today we're going to be talking about one of the things that I really love and one of the principles that really govern human behavior. And in all the years that I've been studying human behavior, I found that if you master this principle, not only do you become a better leader, you are also able to govern your relationships. And when I talk about relationships, I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. I'm talking about the full spectrum that governs your whole life. We're talking about your business relationships, your social relationships, your relationships that you have spiritually as well, your financial relationships, your mental, your vocational, as well as the physical area of your life as well. And what is it that we're going to be learning today? Today, I'm going to be speaking about principles of integrating values. Integrating values is something that not only when you master it, like I said, will you be able to communicate better with other people, but the moment you awaken these values within yourselves and understand what your values are, you are better able to function on a higher level of existence. Let's first start off defining values and what value structures are. Now, this definition is taken from a mentor of mine called Dr. John DeMartini. And he describes values as something that is intrinsic in all of us. As human beings, we all have these value structures. It doesn't matter what your age is, it doesn't matter what your skin color is, it doesn't matter where you were born even. We each have these value structures that govern our lives. And when we speak of these value structures, again, we're not speaking of moral values, but instead we're talking about the things that govern our own human behaviors. And think of these human values as something like a ladder where you have your highest values at the top and all the way down you have your lowest values or your lowest priorities. And at the top you also have your highest priority. These can be described as actions or things that you want to have, things that you want to complete in your life. For instance, you could find that someone's top values could be sports. And then second to that could be finance. And then third to that could be their social life, which then governs what they perceive in the environment is most missing. So because they perceive that that is most missing, that's the thing that they pursue the most. You find that in the top three areas, that person will be organized in his sports. His sports, you find that maybe if he plays sports, his sports bag is in order. His sporting equipment is in order. If he's coaching in that area, you'll find that his tactics are in order. His whole way of being is in order when it comes to sports. Then the second thing, if it's finance, you find that his financial aspect of life is in order. He's able to tell you how much he has, where he has that money, how much his assets are worth, how much his liabilities are worth, if he's got any. But if he values finances, you'll find that this person tends to save and invest and buys a lot of assets or things that produce an income for them. Then the third, if you find that the social area of life is important, you find that the person is socially organized. They know what they'll be doing on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They've got friends in different departments, in different areas of their lives. That is what will encompass their highest values. But now, for today's lessons, we're all talking about integrating different value structures. Now, suppose this person is either married or perhaps they have a relationship of any kind with someone else that has a different set of priorities, or their hierarchy of values is different from theirs. Suppose they then get into a relationship with someone who values spirituality at the top. Then second to spirituality, this person values the physical aspect of life. And then third to that, this person values the mental area of life, or their studies or researching. Now, these two value structures, looked at independently, you could say that they don't support each other. So what would tend to happen is, if this one comes in, meets the person with a different set of values and imposes their values onto them, they will create labels within that. They would perhaps see that because the person doesn't go out much or doesn't socialize much, they'll label the other person as an introvert. And the other person, when they impose their values onto the other person, they will label that person as someone who goes out a lot. So in there's these conflicting labels that are happening. So one value, when put up against the other, contradicts the other and creates that false label. And now, what you find is, anytime one value is imposed upon another, the person is actually maximizing themselves relative to the other value. And anytime the other person tries to integrate and live up to the other person's values, what they're doing is they are minimizing themselves and maximizing the other value. And anytime these values, again, are not seen as complementary or supporting each other, there's that friction that's caused between the two parties, because they don't understand the two opposing values that are going on in there. So suppose you're in this type of situation where you tend to maximize yourself and minimize the other person, where the person whose highest values in sports doesn't see how the person whose highest value spirituality is supporting that. If you want to integrate and be able to communicate with the other person, first what you need to do is understand your value structures, and then you want to be able to communicate in the other person's values using your own values and seeing how what that person is doing is contributing to your own values. So suppose you love sports. You're a sports coach and you are running a sports team. And the person who you're in a relationship with, their opposing value is spirituality. And you might think, well, spirituality is nowhere close to what I'm doing in the field of sports. But if you go in and actually ask yourself the question of how is their highest value, which is spirituality, helping me contribute to my coaching side of things, you'll find that because you're coaching individuals, you have to tap in to the highest form of expression, which is then the spiritual aspect of life, or the spiritual essence. So if you're then able to integrate what that person is devoted to and be able to extract value from that and see how that is then servicing your values, you're able to then open up more to the person and then see that, oh, you're now able to have a dialogue with the person and not impose your values onto them. Because remember, no one is ever going to be faithful to you. People are only faithful to their values. So every time people interact and meet in the world, the question that they're asking themselves is this person going to be able to help me meet my highest values? And if they see that this person will be able to meet their highest values, they open up to them and they want to form a relationship with them. But the moment they see that their values are not being met, they will see, or maybe they will have a war. And this war is just a misperception that their values are not being met. It's sort of like the same way as when you go shopping. if I told you now that Woolworths has a special on your favorite cake and the cake that you love, you'll see, well, Woolworths is meeting my values. So you want to go and meet, you want to go and shop at Woolworths. But the moment I come and tell you, well, there's another store. Now this store is brand new. Its name is Pick n Pay. Not only will you get your favorite cake, but on top of your favorite cake, you're also going to get your favorite drink. And on top of that, with your favorite drink, they will sponsor you with a free trip somewhere. Now, who are you going to go to? You're obviously going to go to Pick n Pay because they're able to meet your values and go the extra mile. So in that perception, you're going to go with Pick n Pay because Pick n Pay is meeting your values and is going the extra mile in your perception at that specific moment. The same way with these value structures, the moment you don't integrate the opposing values, the more friction you have. And if you're in a leadership position, the biggest mistake you can make is believing that your values are better than the person who you're leading. So the moment you try to impose your values onto someone that you're leading, the more friction you're going to have. But the moment you find out what the person's highest values are and integrate what you want them to get done within their highest values, then you're going to get someone who will be fully engaged in the work and in the activities that they're doing. Suppose my highest value is perhaps raising kids. Not that that's true, but suppose that that's my highest value is raising kids. And at work, there's a task that you want me to do. And this task perhaps involves me going in and doing a public speech or speaking to the directors in the business. And what you can do to influence that value is to actually ask myself, how is me doing this activity, me giving a speech to directors and speaking to directors and giving them a presentation, how is that going to serve me my highest values of raising kids? The benefit that I see then automatically is, oh, if I'm able to speak to directors and elevate myself at work, the more money I have means the more I can take my kids out to better places, have more fun with them. So now you're learning how to integrate the two values. So you're speaking in my values to get something done that's important to you. And remember that all relationships follow this basic principle. All relationships follow the principle of fair exchange. And anytime someone sees that there isn't a fair exchange, where I'm giving more than I'm receiving, or I'm receiving more than I'm giving, then once you violate that law, then that relationship tends to fall apart. It's the same way in business. In business, if you give value for something and you charge something for it, and the person feels that they got their full value, they happily pay for it. But the moment you either don't charge them for something that you're giving them, and they feel like, I got more than this person is giving me, that relationship won't be sustainable. In as much as you might think that the person loves getting free things, but the moment they feel like there's no fair exchange here where I'm just getting things for free and not being charged for it, that relationship won't be sustainable because there isn't fair exchange. It's not pushing the person and it's not speaking in their highest values. So remember that all relationships seek that fair exchange component to it. The moment you feel that you're either giving or receiving less than, that relationship can be in disarray. And most relationships fall apart because of this principle of fair exchange. And if you have a relationship where there isn't fair exchange over an amount of time, you tend to dissolve that relationship and seek a different relationship that speaks in your values, and there's an element of fair exchange where you're receiving and giving to the same extent, and that then brings balance to that relationship. So to rehash, remember a few things: that all human beings are seeking to fulfill their highest values. And in seeking to fulfill their highest values, they're looking in the world as to who can give me the most benefits that serve me in my highest values. And once you learn how to communicate in other people's values and also learn what your values are, and you awaken and live according to your highest values, it gives other people permission to live according to their values as well, because then you're more open and you're open to integrating what other people value most. And being able to speak in other people's values actually opens up a world of communication. So remember that the moment you awaken your own values and give permission to others to awaken their own values, you will have a better dialogue and a better communication. And if you want to determine your high values, I always tell people, go onto the website. It's completely free. Just type in DiMartini value determination process. And once you go in there, you're able to go through the 13 questions, which will then help you to determine what your highest values are. But remember again that these values are not moral values, but they are things that show you where your highest concentration levels are, where you have the highest order, the highest genius, the highest integrity, and the highest resilience in your life. And these values are a full spectrum, from people who value kids to people who value sports, all the way to people who value building businesses. It's a full spectrum, and no two people have the same set of values. I've done this a number of times on different people, and no two people come up with the same set of values. And remember that in all human activities and in all human interactions, we're all looking for fair exchange. And I just want to thank you for investing time with me today, and I'm looking forward to spending more time with you. Thank you.